Hello everyone, this is Ryan from the ProfitTrailer team, also known as RF Radio on the ProfitTrailer Discord support server. In this video I'm going to be going over the possible buy log settings for the pairs file and what it affects and how it behaves. So if we go up here to your menu on the top and see this possible buy, you go ahead and click that. This is the page that we're actually going to be modifying using the possible buy log settings. And all it is this buy log settings is a set of filters that allows specific coins to show up here in your possible buy log based on the parameters you set there. So we go over here to config, just mouse over and then click on pairs. It takes you to your pairs editor. Now under possible buy log settings, you have here your first line, default initial cost. This is a value that you would set of how much of your base currency you want to use to buy each coin. So since I'm on the Bitcoin markets, if I were to specify 0.012, that means I'm going to be using 0.012 Bitcoin to buy each coin that I want to buy for just a straight up purchase to get that into my pairs log. I would expend that much Bitcoin, whatever I define here, in order to buy it. Now, a note on this, if you're using a default initial cost and you have default initial cost percentage defined here, you need to set this to 0 or comment out the line to disable it if you want to use the default initial cost, and vice versa. If you want to use percentage, set default initial cost to 0 or comment out that line using the hashtag at the beginning of the line. I prefer to use initial cost percentage myself, so I use this format here. The next line down here you have max trading pairs. Now this defines how many coin pairs that you allow the bot to buy, and it's going to be a cumulative amount between your pairs and DCA log. So it adds the pairs and DCA log together and says, is this at least the same as max trading pairs? If it is, it will stop buying pairs. And you'll see in your possible buy log, if we go over to that right now, if you hit your max pair count, you'll see in the cell that shows each, or in the column that shows each coin pair here, on next to each ticker symbol, you'll see something that says max pairs, and it won't buy any more. Now it is also possible to exceed your max pairs if you are placing a manual buy order on your exchange after you've already reached your max pair limit on the bot, or if you were to have a larger max pair number and you hit that and then you reduced it in your pairs log. So it is possible to have a scenario where you could potentially exceed it, but not through the buying process. The bot will never buy more than what you set here for your number of max trading pairs. A note on this is a little bit different from some of the earlier versions of ProfitTrailer. Even when you hit your max trading pairs, your possible buy log here will not disappear. It'll just say max pairs there. So it's just like the last version of the version 1 series. Now we go back to default min buy volume. Now this is synonymous with the prior version that used to be called all min buy volume, and this is defining how much of a trading volume that a coin pair must have in order to be included in your possible buy log. So if you set here 100 and you're trading in Bitcoin, the coin pairs that you have specified here in your enabled pairs, or if you just use all for your enabled pairs, it will only select coins that have 100 Bitcoin volume or more, or if you're trading in Ether, it's 100 Ether or more on your exchange, and then they will be included in your possible buy log. This also overrides whenever you select coin pairs here in your enabled pairs. So if you have a coin pair defined here that you want to trade, and you have it specified in your enabled pairs, if it drops below this min buy volume for its 24-hour trading volume, it will fall off of your possible buy log. It will be filtered out. The same goes for the next line down, default min buy price. If you specify a minimum price, say I wanted to buy any coin that was valued greater than 5,000 Satoshis, this is how I would enter it. You don't need the trailing zeros after the number if all you're going to have is zeros, but just for showing you the price accuracy, this is what you can use. So say I wanted to trade every coin that was valued at 5,000 Satoshis or greater. then it would include those coins in my possible buy log. And just like your min by volume, even if you have coin pairs defined here, if they do not fall, if they fall below this min by price, they will drop off of your possible buy log. And since I prefer to trade specific coins regardless of their price or volume, I just leave those set to 0. So you can do that as well. If you just want to trade these pairs or any pairs that you want to define for your enabled pairs, and you don't care what their volume or price is, you just leave them at 0 and it'll ignore it. Next line down, default max buy spread. Now this is defining the percent spread between the highest buying offer and the lowest selling offer of any coin on your exchange. These are all able, anything here that says default are all able to be made coin pair specific, so you can define different maximum buying spreads for different coins if you like. Now this again, if a coin falls below this maximum buy spread that you define, and again this is a percentage, this is not a set value. If any of these coins have a narrower spread between their highest buying offer and their lowest selling offer than what you set here, then it will show up in your possible buy log. So if the spread goes bigger than this, say I've got 3% as my maximum spread, if it goes larger than that on any coin pair, it will not include it in the possible buy log. And this is good for pump and dump protection. If you experience a coin pair going suddenly massively high in price really fast, a lot of times you'll see the spread between the buying and selling offers will increase dramatically in a very short amount of time. And by setting a narrower max buy spread, you help prevent getting caught up into that potential scenario. And the next line, default min order book volume percentage. It's a bit of a mouthful. In the original, in the prior versions of ProfitTrailer, I should say, this was defined as all buy available volume trigger. So that was, I guess, some people thought that might have sounded a little confusing, so the name of that function has been changed to this, and it basically says that whatever the minimum order book volume percentage is defined as is how much there has to be in the selling order book before it will buy that particular coin pair. Now what it's basing this percentage on is your initial cost or your initial cost percentage of your balance. So I have mine set at 125 for my min order book volume percentage. That means if the selling order book volume meets or exceeds 125% of my default initial cost percentage of my balance, then it will buy that coin. If it's less than that, it will ignore it and will not buy that coin. And again, that will filter out any of your enabled pairs here. If you don't care what your initial order or what your minimum order book volume percentage is and comment out that line or set it to 0, then you run the risk of getting partial fills on some particular markets that might have a very constrained volume. And also depends on how much you're actually expending on each coin. So those do play a factor. Next line down, your default rebuy timeout. This is your timeout after you sell a coin that the bot will wait before buying the same coin again. If you just leave it as default, it will it'll set this for all coins unless you have one specified independently by its ticker symbol. Then you can set individual rebuy timeouts for different coins at different times. That is possible here. I have mine set at 120 or 2 hours. This is defined in minutes, so just be aware of that. The next line down, the next 2 lines actually, the default min change percentage and default buy max change percentage. These are filters for these are actually filters for allowing a coin to show up in your possible buy log if it's between a minimum and a maximum percent change in the prior 24 hours. So one example of setting this, say I wanted a coin, or I wanted the bot to not buy a coin unless it fell between these percentage values in its price change over the last 24 hours. So the min change percentage is negative 1%. So the coin can't have gone down by more than 1% over the prior 24 hours in price, and it cannot have gone up more than 2% in the last 24 hours. So anywhere in between that range is where it's going to buy that coin. So whatever values you set here, you're basically limiting the bot to buying any specific percent change range for the coin pair in the last 24 hours. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention here about the rebuy timeout. After you've sold a coin, it does show up back here in the possible buy log, and it just says rebuy timeout right next to it. So that's a way that you can check and see, has something sold and is it still on its timeout. So back to the last line here, the pair min listed days. Now this particular function is for basically telling the bot don't buy a coin unless it's been on the exchange X amount of days. And one scenario you'd possibly like to use that is in a newly listed coin and it is extremely volatile in price over the first month or so, or even a couple of weeks. It depends on what your comfort level is with new coins on a market. A lot of times you'll see a coin is admitted to a particular exchange and starts off at a very high price and quickly drops. Over the last year, I've seen the average price drop of a newly admitted coin approximately around 90 to 95% loss in its initial value in the first 24 hours. So in order to prevent the bot from buying it, if it lands in your buy range parameters, then you can just exclude it based on how many days it's been on the exchange. I like to set mine at 30 because it seems to be a good average for filtering coins to prevent getting caught up in big volatility swings and potentially end up selling the coin at a loss later on. So that is all I have for the possible buy log settings. So if you like what you see here on this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Please consider subscribing and hit that subscribe button. And if you just want to find out when new content is posted to this channel, go ahead and hit that little bell button right next to the subscribe button. On the next video, I'm going to be going into the next section, which is the default buy settings. That's all I have for this video, so as always, stay safe and happy trading. And we'll see you on the next video. If you need any help with your ProfitTrailer client, please consult the wiki at wiki.profittrailer.com. And if you still have more questions, don't hesitate to join us over on the Discord support server following the link on your screen.